My name is Rose Soul and I am Muslim.
How would you describe this country's acceptance or views on Muslims?
Acceptance is a strong word. I think I wouldn't even say on Muslims. I would say on anyone who looks somewhat from the Middle East. If your skin tone is looked at like, oh, that's someone who's from the Middle East, then automatically people think that they're Muslim. And I feel like their views on them is very discriminatory, as well as Muslims too, because the moment I tell someone, oh yeah, I'm Muslim, like I can see it in their eyes, like they're like so thrown off, and some of them have fear in their eyes, and it's kind of scary to know that someone is scared of me. And I'm sorry, but I genuinely think I'm a nice person, and I try to put my best foot forward. And it's hard living in a country that sees you as a terrorist or sees you as the villain. I have 5 sisters, 3 of them who are younger than me, and I don't think they understand how big an impact that them being Muslim is going to have. And I just don't want them to grow up being scared to have faith and being scared to be proud of being Muslim. And of course, events such as 9/11 and organizations such as the Nation of Islam do factor in to the stereotype, but I feel like people have to be the stronger person and realize that just because one group of people or this one person said this doesn't mean the whole group needs to be categorized as that. I'm not a terrorist. I will never be a terrorist ever in my life. My family will never be a terrorist. We're the nicest people you'll ever meet, but because of other people's actions, we have to live with that.
What are your views on your religion's more radical branches?
I don't consider them part of my religion. I don't consider them Muslim whatsoever, because in the Quran it says if you kill one innocent person, that's like killing all of mankind. So if you're Muslim, why would you kill someone who's innocent? Because if you were Muslim, you would understand the importance of peace, and you would understand the importance of treating people the way you want to be treating and helping those around you. Not going to kill people just because you don't like them.
As a Muslim, and like most Muslims, I do not consider radical groups like ISIS as Muslims because they have a twisted and dark interpretation of the Quran, which is not in the Quran at all. And unfortunately, that is what some people do think of Islam when they hear a Muslim or the word Islam.
Tell me about violence versus nonviolence in the Muslim religion. The Muslim religion is often stereotyped as a religion that believes in violence. Why is this? Is this true?
Okay, before I continue, I feel like it's important to say that yes, I'm Muslim, and my values and morals come from me being a Muslim, being raised Muslim, but I'm not very educated on my own religion. I've read the Quran and I've memorized it in Arabic, but I've read very little of it in English, so disclaimer. So in my religion, nonviolence is the first step. There's a hadith where it talks about a man who was sitting on a bench, and this other man came up to him and was harassing him verbally and saying these disrespectful stuff like, oh, your religion is bad religion, your clothes you wear is bad, blah, blah, blah. But the man sat there on the bench peacefully, and he ignored the man who was being rude to him. And then the man who's being rude physically touched him and tried to take his property. So, as a Muslim, the Muslim man had the right to defend himself physically, so he did. Islam highlights peace so much in the Quran, I cannot tell you. That's all you hear. Even in Quran class, all they talk about is being nice and being respectful, instead stepping into the world with a positive mindset and being optimistic. But at the end of the day, you're gonna defend yourself. Malcolm X was Muslim, and I feel like he was the best representation of that. Everyone thinks he was just about violence, but that's not what he was about. He was about using the enemy's language. So if your enemy is using violence towards you physically, use it. If they're using nonviolence, use it.
Unfortunately, Islam has a stereotype of violence, which is very inaccurate, because there are over 1 billion Muslims in this world, and if we were all violent, I'm pretty sure a huge part of the world will not be around right now. So yes, that is completely false. And extremists like ISIS, who are not Muslims, unfortunately are tainting or attempting to taint our religion. Islam is a religion of peace, it's a religion of love, and anything that is the opposite of that is not Islam.
Do you really have to pray 5 times a day?
Yes, I get this question a lot actually. And yes, you're supposed to pray 5 times a day. It's Fajr, Zuhud, Asr, Maghrib, and Isha. Fajr is around sunrise. Zuhud is around noon, 1 o'clock. Asr is around 3 to 4. Maghrib is sunset. And then Isha is around like 9, 10 o'clock at night. I personally don't pray 5 times a day, and that's my own personal choice. I feel like I'm still getting to know my religion, I'm still getting to understand it, and with time, I will get to the point where I pray 5 times a day, but I'm just at a point where I'm just trying to understand it myself. My parents, they will not go to sleep without praying. I have never, not once in my entire 18 years of life, seen my parents go to bed without praying their 5 prayers.
As a Muslim, you do have to pray 5 times a day. Whether you do it or not, that is up to you and God. But it is part of our duties, and not everyone gets to do it. And that is also between us and our God. And I think religion is very personal. It is between you and God. So whether you do it or not, I totally believe that it should be up to that person and God.